a year. The reason why we have to pay that is you have to keep records for 7 years, and we haven't been on Munis for 7 years yet, so we still have to keep those older years, and in order to do that, we have to pay the support. And lastly is a small amount of accounting consulting services for Sullivan and Rogers, a firm that we've used since implementing Munis. And so if we plan to, down the road, implement any other modules of Munis, we would need some consulting services, during the planning stages.
So is there money in there for the modules themselves, or do we already have them?
No.
That would be a capital item.
Capital.
That would be out of the capital.
Yep.
Yep.
Elizabeth, going back to the old finance software, I can understand the need to retain records for 7 years, but I'm not sure I fully understand why we need a maintenance contract on a system we're no longer using.
In order to access them, they require us to pay this annual maintenance fee.
Who's that?
Lawrence Braverman and Associates. They're the writer of the software program.
Right, but we have the software in-house. How does the license rate?
It is on our server, but we can't access it if we don't pay. In order for it to get new users up and running, they have to come on to our server to connect and
Are we
establish.
using that software anymore?
We do go back and research.
Okay, but we only need maybe 1 or 2 people, right? Do you have that ability? We don't need everybody.
No, everybody doesn't have it.
Oh, okay. So does that change the equation at all? Is it?
Would you say it's about 5,000 a year?
And then currently to date, you'll see if you look at FY11 actual expended, you only see 48,685, and then the FY12 budget is 67,200. There was a $14,000 October town meeting transfer in, which was for accounting consulting services, and spent to date, we have 15,000 remaining, which is going to, 8 of that is going to pay for the OPEB study that is for prior fiscal years that was not completed.
So what's it called?
It's OPEB, it's other post-employment benefits.
Oh, okay. And is that a mandate?
Yes.
State mandate?
No, federal.
Federal mandate. What do we do with it when it's done?
Put a number out there and hope that we have the money to be able to pay for it. It's in the tens of millions of dollars.
The goal with the actuarial services and producing a number is to put money into an OPEB trust fund, so you have the money to pay these retirees.
Okay.
Yeah, and we put a little bit of money aside every year. A little bit.
And then the other increase in the accounting budget is training and education, and that is due to Mass Municipal Accountings and Auditors Association. My finance assistant is looking at the possibility of going next year, so that would be the increase of, funding myself and she to go. But salaries have gone down, so they kind of offset each other, the salaries and the 2 increases in those line items.
So coming up with the funding for the unfunded liability that we're talking about, when do we budget for that? How much money are we going to put aside this year for that?
The amount is to be determined. Typically, what we'd like to do is use whatever is left as the balance in the health insurance budget, and we'll make a decision as we get closer to the June town meeting. May not necessarily be the entire amount, but that's typically what we use as a funding source.
Oh, well, this is brand new, too.
I know, no, but
Greg's is typical, this is
yeah.
2
First-
years.
Second
I
year.
know that when we've had
Second
the
year.
audit done, this has been one of the things they have
Yep.
hit us on in our audit. So, I'm not sure what our strategy is this year, if we're gonna get a little more serious with it.
I think you
That's
look at the-
exactly our strategy
You
is-
have to look at the revenue plan
I
and
understand.
look at
I do.
what's available.
No, I don't.
They're recommending that people start, putting funds away. It's not being mandated as of yet, but it could come down the road as a, requirement.
Is there any idea as to what they're talking about? I mean, if they try to have communities catch up over a 25-year time period, which gets stretched to 40. But, which is fine, which is still, so long as there's employees to pay in,
Yep.
you're gonna have.
They are coming up with different, they have different conferences on it, and they're coming up with different strategies on how communities can tackle the burden over time, and different recommendations from new hires not offering it to spouses down the road and such like that. So it limits the liability. Nothing has been
The
set.
problem is that if you limit the new people coming in, not get the benefit, and then not funding,
Right. That
they'll
doesn't
stay
catch
in
up.
liability.
And it doesn't catch up to us
It
for a long time.
Never catches up,
So.
so it's,
We'll continue to listen to guidance that's offered, and see how we can, strategies to tuck money away.
So basically, in terms of FY 2013, we continue to implement Munis. And when I mean implement, I mean make better use of
Yes.
the modules that we have.
Mhm.
And are we proposing any additional modules in the capital plan?
Yes.
We will be.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Is one of them related to potentially doing payroll electronically, direct deposit payroll?
We already utilize the Munis payroll module, so we can look at the cost savings. You're talking if,
Well, we talked about potentially going to bi-weekly.
bi-weekly.
okay.
And then I think right now we still do hard checks, right?
We do checks for employees that have a check, and we do direct deposit advices for employees that have direct deposit. There is an option for the employees that have direct deposit, to have that emailed to them rather than us printing it out.
Right.
And that's,
Oh, it's pay advice?
yes. And then they can retrieve it, at their leisure. So that is an option, and we can analyze what the cost savings, we're already using plain paper for that, so.
And that's an option under the existing modules we
Yes.
have now.
Mhm.
And the same for the bi-weekly payroll, we can execute that under the existing modules now.
That may need some contract modifications.
Yeah, but it's got nothing to do
Yes,
with
the
the
system
software.
can do it.
Yes.
Yes, the system's capable of
Yeah,
doing it.
that's-
We do it for teachers bi-weekly, so that's not an issue, it's more contractual that we would have to look at.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the finance budget?
That's just accounting, right?
Marion and Deb Carboni are here for treasury and assessing.
So, okay, we're gonna do treasury next.
Hi. Good, how are you? Marion McKay, treasurer collector. My duties as treasurer collector is to collect real estate, personal property, motor vehicle, trash, municipal lien certificates, our office does those, balancing the bank accounts and getting all the information to accounting so they can reconcile for the month end. In my budget, I did go up on a couple of items. One of them was my legal fees for tax title. I have been very aggressive in the tax title. Last year, FY11, I collected $350,000. This year, through today, it was $290,000 I've already collected. With that being said, a lot more of the filings are actually going to land court, so that's why I'm asking for more money in my budget because of the filing fees.
That's in the collector's budget, is that?
Yes.
that is-
When you talk about filings, you're talking about moving toward foreclosure?
Correct, yes.
How much did you put in?
Page 79. Page 79. 25,000, right?
Yeah, 25, yeah.
Line 50020, Michael.
Just wanted to make sure I had the right number, yeah. Thanks.
53020.
See you. Thank you.
And then on my repairs and maintenance, I went up because of the maintenance of the postage meter. that those fees went up, so I'm just putting the fees on to make up the difference on that, because we rent our postage meter for in-house. And that would be for the machine and the scale. And then the office supplies, that went up a little bit, just because of the cost of paper, because of all our bills. And we have pressure sealed, our checks are pressure sealed, our advices are pressure sealed, so that the cost of that went up a little bit, so I just put a little bit more into my office supplies.
How are we doing with collections online and that sort of thing? How's that system working?
That system is working very well. We do still have a lot of people that do it on their own banks, so it does create a lot more work for us, because we're still physically, they're sending the payment in, but we still have to print it off, so that's someone physically going in and printing off a bill.
It comes in without a stub, right?
Because it comes in without a stub, and we have to actually research it, because some people will just put payment, and it could be, Miriam McKay, 235 North Street, and we kind of have to guess at what they're paying. Usually if it's, motor vehicle time, if it's like, $27.75, we kind of can figure that out, but if it's, personal property and trash, $56.50, could be the same thing as motor vehicle, and, it just takes us a lot of research to get that going.
So you should be making your pitch right now?
Yes,
Maybe the
please
public-
use Unibank, our online system. We did implement tax bills online, where you can physically go in and view your bill and print it off. And it has a link right to Unibank, which is our online payment system. They did just start to implement Visa, so if you go in and use your Visa, it's a flat rate of $3.95 regardless of how much your bill is. Where if you pay by Discover or MasterCard, it depends on how much your bill is how much the fee is going to be. The town does not receive that fee, that is the bank. We only get the original amount of the bill itself.
And I'd like to comment one step further. If you're using Unibank, not only are you not spending any extra money, but you can schedule the payment.
Yes, you can.
So when you get your bill, you can go and schedule it to be paid on the date that it's due.
Yes, and you have up until midnight of the day it's due. So if we close at 4 o'clock and the payment's not received in our office, if you put it in, like we have the silver box that's out front, if you put it in the box after 4 o'clock, it's considered late. But you have up until midnight before they come offline to pay it. And we just implemented at the counter, if someone came in the next day, we can physically put it in through a credit card, put it in our system, and have them pay us the interest that accrued on the account for that 1 or 2 days whenever they come in after the fact. So we just have to manually put it in, but we can accept credit cards here now too.
Would it hurt us to put an insert in the bills so people learn more about this, about our online banking?
We do have it on the bills that they could pay it, and we do have it on our envelopes to pay online.
I know, but
We could.
something maybe colored, it literally falls out right in their lap and they'll read it.
I think when it first got implemented, probably about 7 years ago, they did do that, but with the technology today, it wouldn't be a bad idea. The bills are coming up to be printed and mailed out by the middle of this month, so maybe I can.
Well, I think at least you can estimate, pull together, and then maybe if you can account for it, it's not too much, we can afford to do it.
Doesn't throw the postage off.
Right, well, I don't know, then we'll try to get it into your budget, because I think it's what it's doing, because it saves you all that manpower. Maybe a worthy investment.
That's something we can do in-house, so it shouldn't be that expensive.
And if people want to continue to use their own bank, what is helpful to you for them to identify a particular payment for a particular purpose?
Either put your bill number on there, or your map and parcel. Just make sure if it's like real estate, people will just keep their same bill from 5 years ago. So if you're not looking at the name, and you pull up bill number 5, it could say Sean Delaney, but, Mr. Cash could have that bill now, because there's been so many changes in the bill numbers. They don't remember to change the bill numbers. So a lot of people will put the bill to what they're telling us to pay, and then they call us up when they get the demand and say, I paid my bill. I have a copy of the canceled check here, but they didn't identify it. They put the wrong bill number on it, so then we have to transfer the payment out of one and put into another.
And I
So
believe
it'll
the
be-
water bill is paid on the account number rather than the bill number. Is
Yes.
that correct?
It is,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's another